We have two discussions this week, and the first one is going to be about the instructional design process. And for the requirements, you have one initial message and one response to a classmate. And for that initial message, you have there the questions that I would like for you to focus on. And as you remember, part of the requirements of discussion is that you always use in-text citations on the required number of messages that you post. So for example, as you're answering your questions, maybe you want to say Horton indicates that one of the considerations to keep in mind when you're doing instructional design for e-learning is this, or I have experience doing instructional design, but in my case I haven't gone through the stage of blah 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 that Horton mentions. That is sufficient for an in-text citation. You don't have to actually use quotes. For the readings that you cite, you have to include the reference for outside sources only. I really want to help you out, save a little bit of time. There's no need to add the reference to Horton's book. We already know that. We already know where to find it, and it's in the syllabus. So any readings that are required or optional course readings listed in the syllabus, you don't have to provide the reference for. Then for your responses, you're going to examine and discuss each other's work. Again, use citations to compare and contrast them with your own. Based on what you read in the readings and what your classmate is saying, indicate how that compares to what you understood. Note that the requirement is only for the required number of messages. If you feel like being more spontaneous and posting additional messages to other classmates, you don't have to always use in-text citations, just for those that are marked as required. The second discussion is going to be about your own project description and objectives. And so you're going to be required to post an initial message in which you will post your ideas for the e-learning proposal. And that includes describing the subject and including also objectives. The more you provide from that first assignment, the more feedback you will receive. So even if it says 3 learning objectives, if you want to go ahead and place all 5, that's perfect, because you will get feedback on all 5 objectives. For the response, you're required to respond to 3 classmates to provide feedback, and please look for classmates that don't yet have feedback or have only 1 response to their messages, so that we can help everybody at least get 3 feedbacks from different people. Using text citations to support your recommendations. For example, your classmate enters objectives, and they are great. They are a picture perfect model of objectives according to Major's model. So go ahead and tell them that your objectives are following Major's model. He recommends that you include a condition and a behavior and a criterion, and you have done just that in your first one. The second one, it's a little bit improvement. It doesn't have a condition. Mention what recommendations from the readings your classmates are following or are not following, and do that in all 3 required messages. For that particular forum, don't forget to hit subscribe. I have enabled subscription to your thread so that you can receive feedback in a timely fashion when either your classmates or myself post messages that are important for you to incorporate before submission, so that you don't lose any points. So the deadlines for our discussion for the first message, it is going to be Wednesday the 14th. For any replies, the deadline is going to be Sunday the 18th. All deadlines are 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. There is one additional conversation for this week, and it's really optional, and that is searching for a partner. Now, this is going to be convenient for you because this is a reading intensive course, and if on top of so much to read, you also have to work on your project all by yourself, it is going to be a lot of work. So you have an opportunity to kind of divide the work with somebody always have that person giving you feedback for the work that you do, and you'll probably turn in a much stronger project, and it's going to be easier for you to work on it. Also, it'll give you a genuine design experience in many instances, not in all instances, but in many instances, e-learning professionals work in teams. Now, there are some considerations you need to keep in mind if you are going to be working for a partner. This is not going to be a monitored group experience, which means I'm not going to be grading each person for individual work. This is really on an honor system. If you decide to work with a partner, it is because you talked to that person and you decided that yes, you both are going to be working on the project and you've committed to pull your own weight, etc. So you want to ensure that you're truly interested in the same subject, in the same type of educational context, and in the same delivery technology. You have to ensure that you have similar expectations regarding the level of quality of the work produced. You cannot work together if one person is just happy with a C or a B in the class, whereas the other person really wants to get an A. You have to have a similar commitment to the work to produce that level of quality. So not only, of course, everybody would like an A, but not everybody will want to work as much. So you have to explore that and be open about it at the beginning of the class. You know, I'm really not going to be able to work that much for this project, so okay, just let's part ways now instead of getting together. Also, make sure you ask the other person, will you have the time available to do so? Sometimes we enroll in a course and it turns out we are going to be moving during a part of the term, so you're not going to have enough time for, doing part of the work. It's better to be clear up front. You're moving, you're getting married, you're whatever, something is going to have your attention for some time. You're not going to be able to work as much during some time. You need to be open about those things at the beginning, because you may be stuck working with somebody who's really not going to be able to produce at the level you want, and we're trying to ascertain that since the very beginning of the semester. Also, make sure that you have similar work ethics and patterns. There's people who like to start working early. There's people who work at the last minute and produce great things. I suggest you talk about this. You know who you're getting together with, and maybe even take advantage of partners' preferences. So, the person who likes to start working early, get an early stab at the work, and then when you're tired, the night before you had a dinner, you don't want to be doing homework, trust that that person who likes working at the last minute will take care of all the last minute details that need to take care of before submission. These are things that you can talk about, you can agree on, and then you will be able to have a successful learning experience. The other thing you need to make sure is that you commit to abide by jointly set deadlines. There hasn't been a single instance in my professional experience where I have facilitated group work where one person agrees to submit something at a certain deadline and then they don't submit it and the group is happy. That never happens. If you do not submit by the deadline, you're going to have a group member who's going to be mad at you. Also, keep open communication lines at all times. If you receive an email, reply the email within a certain amount of time. Agree on expectations on how long you're going to take to reply to emails and abide to that. Especially when you're experiencing difficulties that may impact the work of your partner. You want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. You don't want to fall off the face of the earth, because that has never ever made anybody happy in a group experience. So it's better to be open about things than to just hide in the cyber world and not reply to emails and have the other person get nervous.